Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Saga Troy video. So here we are with the information blog regarding the LERNEAN HYDRA, the many-headed serpent whose speciality is poison. Its location is the Mother's Sanctum, and I'm pretty sure you'd have to buy a lot of mice to feed this if you decided to keep it as a pet. As before and after with any of the videos focused on these monstrosities, I've not played the game just yet. I wanted to leave myself some first impressions before we started moving on to actual gameplay in the near future. So let's not waste any more time and let's find out all about this Hydra. So what exactly is this Hydra? Defeating the LERNEAN HYDRA was one of the 12 legendary labors of Heracles, but it provided a unique challenge. Every time Heracles would cut off one of its 9 heads, 3 new ones would sprout from its neck. Heracles' cousin Iolaus turned out to be the key to victory, cauterizing the Hydra's headless necks so they would not regenerate. Wow, that's pretty grim. Even so, one of the Hydra's heads was truly immortal, and was so buried under a massive rock, consigned to oblivion. And yet, long after Heracles had met his doom, the Hydra's immortal head, endlessly bleeding, worked its subtle poison into the earth, and then into the bodies of the unlucky few who still remained at Lerna. Though many died, some lived. Then the Hydra called to them, and so they came, answering to the voice of the mother as they have taken to calling it, and now the Hydra slithers again. Life always finds a way. Hey, nice Jurassic Park reference there. It's pretty grim though, isn't it? It seems that she's working her magics into some sort of cult, brainwashing them. It's pretty cool. So in the battlefield, the Hydra itself has 5 special abilities. Regeneration. The Hydra is nearly unkillable and constantly regenerates on the battlefield. This was expected as we've already discussed its lore, or well, mythos. Poison. Any and all attacks from the Hydra will infect the target with its blood, dealing damage over time as they decay. Cool, so it's going to be constantly doing damage. Poison bomb. Long range, small explosive spit that affects everything in a radius. Oh cool, that actually sounds really fun. Poison breath. At close range, the Hydra can unleash its potent breath, infecting everything nearby. Alright, even more damage dealing. Okay, so this is going to be, I'm assuming, very powerful in close combat as we've seen how big this actually is, and then also being able to do range damage. And its final battle ability is Virulent Blood. Even attacking the Hydra is not safe, as its blood will begin to infect them and destroy armor as they swing. Oh, so even using melee combat troops versus the Hydra is going to be actually very difficult to deal with, as it's going to kill those guys off. I'm imagining this might be like the ultimate tanky monster. Throw it in the middle of a horde of enemies and just let them die, because yeah, this sounds pretty cool. Next, we've got some information regarding playstyle. The Hydra exists to simply spread its ruinous legacy no matter the cost, and its cult is intent on establishing footholds wherever they go. However, at the outset, its vitality has taken a toll from years in its weakened state, as well as its defeat by whomever hero proves himself its better during a mythic expedition. Feeding the Hydra will increase its vitality, and enemies are not the only thing on the table. That sounds pretty curious, so we're gonna go with the whole old Kong style of trope where you get someone and you strap them to like a pillar and like sacrifice. Let's not ramble, let's carry on. The Hydra prefers to rain death from afar, as do some of her fanatical cultists, who are more pieces of itself than human beings. Okay, cool. The ones used to hold the front line are either tough and self-regenerating, or capable of weakening the enemy even with their own deaths, by literally bleeding poison on them. God, this sounds awesome, doesn't it? The Hydra's poisonous powers can even be conferred to regular units, albeit at the cost of vitality. Okay, so we have units that can regenerate, cool. We have units that can pretty much be used as suicide units, that's also pretty cool. And then we can turn our normal units into these types of units. This is pretty much what I'm getting from here, and it sounds like it's very tanky type of units and all that. We'll go into them soon. It's very curious though that the Hydra prefers to rain death from afar. You'd expect such a massive beast with so many heads to be, well, pretty good at close combat. I'm assuming it is, but just it's a personal preference of this beast. Okay, let's talk about the faction abilities, where we've got 5 over here. The first is Vitality, a measurement of the Hydra's power, fed by battle or your own forces. Oh, okay, so you can sacrifice your own troops. Can be spent on various buffs for buildings or armies, or simply kept to make the Hydra a true terror. So we can use this on building buffs too, and army buffs too. Okay, this sounds pretty cool. The next one is new buildings. 4 buildings, 1 for each of the Hydra's cult's units. Okay, these are extremely expensive and difficult to build, but the Hydra's power can make things easier. Right, that makes sense with the whole vitality thing, though 1 building dedicated to 1 unit? That's really strange, because that's 4 buildings. I mean, last I played Troy, there wasn't really that many building slots. It's kind of like, well, yeah, just like a normal Warhammer and stuff. You know, you get more from a provincial capital, and the smaller ones only can take around 3 buildings. It seems like it's a lot of stuff. These units better be worth it, at least. The next is Hydra Feast, a unique stance for the Hydra army, which generated vitality in exchange for putting the host army into attrition. Why? Who could say? Oh, okay, so this is how you sacrifice your own units, is it? There must be some other form of bonuses here though, because just for vitality there must be something else at the very least, right? The next is Hydra Ritual, an agent action of the Hydra that exchanges vitality for massive boosts to building its unique structures. Okay, so that makes it a little easier. Still, it's 4 buildings. It sounds a bit weird to me. We'll have to see how they work, of course. And lastly, we have post-battle options. As well as feeding its enemies to the Hydra, newly conquered settlements can be infused with its power to reduce the cost of Hydra buildings. Right, okay. So the Hydra buildings, as far as we can see, are very expensive, though there's a lot of stuff which can reduce the cost of them. So yeah, it might be a viable thing in the future. We're gonna have to wait and see when we can actually start doing gameplay videos. Okay, so now let's look at the 4 unique units for the Hydra. The first are the Drinkers of Venom. Maddened by the Hydra's venom and the constant hiss inside their heads, these accursed Lerneans sought and found the burial place of its immortal head. They knew that they should eat from its flesh and drink from its blood so it may consume them in its turn and be reborn. And now they roam the lands seeking to spread the Hydra's ruinous domain. Okay, so these are probably those chaff units we spoke about before, which will do poison damage to anyone that attacks them. I mean, they look kind of basic, no heavy armor, no nothing. So yeah, it kind of feels like these are the tar pit units that you'd use. Next are the Hydra Archers. Their poison arrows will do a lot of work to bring down and pick off enemies who might otherwise swarm your forces. Great support for a rampaging Hydra. So poison arrows and range. Cool. Yeah, this sounds pretty interesting. I wonder how far they can fire though, because I don't know, support a rampaging Hydra? Didn't the Hydra want to be, like, you know, from a distance? Unless this is to further reinforce that you can play with the Hydra in multiple ways, which does actually make a lot of sense. The next unit are the Hydra Defenders. Tough to the last, regenerative, and wielding poison-tipped spears, these are hardy foot soldiers of the Hydra's army. Their large amount of health and heavy armor and defenses make them tough to clear off in the battlefield. Okay, cool. And the weapon looks kind of cool. It's more like it's like a prong, isn't it? Yeah, it's more like a prong. Though this sounds kind of cool. I'm looking forward to using these units. These look really, really interesting. Regeneration and being tough is going to make them quite viable to use on the battlefield, though we do know that chariot charges in Troy were very powerful, so I'd like to see how they fare against chariots. And finally, the Hydra Priest. A true worshipper of the Hydra, trading battle prowess for mystical powers the drinking of the venom has brought. So, kind of like a spellcaster of sorts? Yeah, this should be kind of cool. I don't mind the idea of that. It's probably some sort of buffing character or something. That would kind of fit well with the theme. Looks to be a single entity too, so yeah. I mean, it fits well with like a whole hero aspect. And as far as I recall, we can't really use heroes in battle, can we? Now let's talk about the strengths of the Hydra. The Hydra is a life-draining force of nature, whose enemies weaken and drop dead before they can even face it. The more one rushes headlong into the Hydra's poison-dripping maws, the more likely it is that they will never even reach it. The Hydra best serves the hero who looks to outlast their opponent. When your enemies are melting inside their armor, time is always on your side. So if you can focus around skirmishing, possibly heavy armored units and so on, the Hydra will probably suit that type of playstyle the most. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. We're gonna have to wait and see, but it does make a lot of sense. I just hope that it's very versatile and it's very able to do damage up close and personal. So we've gone over the Hydra now, and it's got some pretty interesting sounding mechanics. I think that this might be a pretty interesting playstyle. I quite like a tanky build with Menelaus, to be honest, so maybe the Hydra might be best for me. Though I must admit that obviously I don't use a lot of range when it comes to Menelaus, so I don't know. I'm gonna have to wait and see and try this out for myself. I've got access now, as I've stated. It's just I wanted to record these with a first impression thing. But what do you guys think about the Hydra and the mechanics coming alongside of her? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince, and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman, and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel's been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.